Okay, so very lovely to see you all. Very beautiful evening. So if we can just rest as just the peace that we know. Just to relax our concerns. Who we are, what we look like, what we did. To just let it be. Whatever thoughts arise. To remain passive. No need to concern ourselves about anything, just to rest. Sometimes it is very difficult to rest when we have these beliefs that we must be in a certain way, we must impress, we must be good, we must be express ourselves intelligently. We stress ourselves unnecessarily. It does nobody any good. Just need to know what's going to happen next. That also can be stressful. So for right now, we can just rest just as being, as one group of friends. To rest within oneself also. To be friendly with oneself. Not to impose onto oneself any obligations. Sometimes we believe that we must be a doer. We must do this and do that in order for life to be happier for us. And so the restfulness evades us because we are so busy thinking and doing. And the thinking and the doing promise has a promise in it for us, for happiness tomorrow, happiness later. So here we rest as happiness now. Notice that presence is effortless. You don't need to be anybody or do anything. Presence is there, like the light of being. It runs itself. It operates within itself of its own. Your perception arises in that space, in that awareness, effortlessly. Your breath arises effortlessly. Thoughts arise. No problem. We don't need to touch them. We don't need to fix them. Notice that awareness has no concerns. And awareness refers to I. Not some concept, but the reality of your experience right now is the light of awareness. Effortless presence. Everything that appears to that effortless presence. Aware presence. Alive presence. That does not depend on anything. Notice how awareness doesn't depend on perception, doesn't depend on thought. It's a transparent, aware presence that has no name, no age, no size, no shape, no gender, no beginning, no direction, no borders. This aware presence is what we refer to as I. I awareness, I presence, I beingness. transparency of being, there's nothing that sticks to that. There's nothing that describes that. There's nothing that defines that. There's nothing that limits that. And there is nothing that isn't that. There is just that aware presence. Like the dreamer that dreams infinite dreams. Like the dreamer that is the reality of all night dreams. I, aware, effortless, borderless presence, is the reality, the one reality. Of all waking and sleeping and dreaming states. Notice that the thoughts that you perceive refer to you, meaning I, the perceiver. The thoughts do not know you. But they refer to you as you are. Their knowingness, you are. The knowingness, the knower, the knowingness of the thoughts that arise. There are forms, mentation, mind forms that appear to you out of the void. Out of the emptiness. In some realm, the realm of confusion, the mind refers to I as a me, as a limited form, as a mortal form. That exists in time and space. But although the mind refers to the self, to consciousness, as a me, the self remains formless, borderless, aware presence. This dream journey that we are sharing is a dream journey of recollection. Recollecting what is so obvious, what is hidden in full view. The recollection of ourself as the formless self, as the reality that is undefined, that is self-knowing, since I know I am. This self-knowingness does not necessitate any help from the mind. This self-knowingness is not borrowed from the mind. It is a direct self-knowingness that is innate to the self. I know I am is a high form of contemplation, as it reveals to you your true nature. So, welcome to Satsang. And if you have any questions that you would like to contemplate together, you can share them in writing a note, or you can question, and we can go into it together. Hello, Ananda.
Hello.
You write, if I think I must be adorable, clearly I will never get sufficient feedback that this is the case. Living in the now as the very now itself is my current contemplation, the darling now. I love the way you started your talk today, inviting us into the quiescent and lovely presence of here and now.
Sometimes I'm still surprised that I have a ways to go into simple now. You know, as I am, when I sit sometimes, I sit almost every day at noon, and I think, oh, that's it. I get to be fulfilled here and now. Just now is, now is enough. Now is huge, so to speak, and that I don't have that perception all the time. I mean, there's just this in busyness or in imagining the next beautiful experience in that kind of mode. I'm kind of missing the awesome now of my being.
It's important to understand that when we are speaking of now, we're not speaking about any experience. We're speaking about awareness. The now that is presence, that is beingness, that is the transparency of being, that is the peace, that is the fullness, that is the wholeness, that is the totality. We're not referring to now, and I'm not saying that you are referring to that, as in any phenomenal way, in any conceptual or perceptual way. So the now is peace. The now is our true nature. We say now, but we're referring to the self, to consciousness, because the term now is connected in our common way of speaking. It has a time element to it, and the time is 0. But it still has a time quality of 0. But consciousness is not in the realm of time. Yeah? Presence, beingness, is not in any realm. One could say that appearances appear in awareness, out of awareness, like your dreams appear in you, the dreamer, out of you, the dreamer. But you do not appear in them, and they do not refer to you as they do not know you. The dreams do not know the dreamers.
Yes.
So time, this element, this linear element of past, present, and future, is still in the realm of the dream.
Yes.
The true now is eternity. It is not 0 time. It is eternity. And in eternity, there is no time. Eternity transcends time. So in your meditation and your contemplation, there is still some sort of measurement, some sort of looking at myself. Where am I? How am I doing? And I'm doing okay between 12 and 1 o'clock, for example, because I'm in meditation, etc. So it's still referring to me as an experiencer that exists and that experiences in time and that exists in time. That does better between 12 and 1, for example, and is doing so in the morning and maybe so in the afternoon. Yes. So it's important that you understand in your direct experience that these are mentations, these are thoughts and sensations. They're like appearances to you. These appearances that speak about you, saying you're doing good or better or worse, or they don't know you. So what they say about you is completely irrelevant to what you are. They are simply like songs of birds or like forms of clouds that are appearing in the sky. They speak nothing about you. They have no knowledge of the self. So if a cloud arises as an angel, or if a cloud arises in the form of a dragon, they have no knowledge of you, and they do not express what you are. Because what you are...
That's great. That's beautiful. You've said this several times. I really love it.
Yes, you are beyond expression and beyond knowing, being known by anything outside of yourself. The knowingness of the self belongs to the self. You know yourself as I, this presence, this formless presence, this aware, effortless presence that is available to you. This knowingness is available to you when you look at it. And you look at it because you are it. It's so close to you. It is what you are. It is closer than close. So you look at yourself directly and you perceive no one. You perceive just awareness, just the transparency of being. There is a reality, but this reality is not a somebody. It has no name. It does not have the name Ananda. It is not getting better in its life. It is not in a life. You could say that it's as if a life appears in it, but it's not in any event. Events appear to it like images, thoughts, sensations, this very perception. But it, meaning when I say it's really not it, it's presence, beingness, does not arise in your dreams. Whatever you perceive yourself to be in your dreams is not what you are.
It's interesting that sometimes there's been an experience where the presence or state appears in a dream, either a sleeping dream or something. And now I see, oh, well, that's also a projection from the most inmost, that it's coming from out there, like could say satsang is a version of that in a way.
Anything that you remember, you are not. Whatever you're remembering, you're not. You contemplate. Contemplation is not a remembering, like a memory. It is turning our attention to what am I truly? What is the reality of my experience? What is truth? In this question, you realize that the mind is like a movie, or a movie on steroids. It's just running and crazy amok it. You notice that's how the mind is. And you notice that nothing in it is real because it's constantly changing. The images, the thoughts, the perceptions, the sensations, they're constantly changing. Only awareness is changeless. That's contemplation. That's not remembering an experience. Yes, so you don't need to remember anything, which is really beautiful, because it can be pretty strenuous if somebody tells you to remember the square root of 624. You go, oh my God, I don't know if I remember that. You see, it's stressful. You don't have to remember. You just simply be. Being is what we are. Is the I am. The Sat is the beingness. Sat Chit Ananda. Chit is the awareness. So it's presence, awareness are one. There's an effortless present awareness, which all of us right now, right here, if we turn our attention to it, we notice that yes, there is presence. Yes. This presence is also aware. And you're not fabricating it. It's just is. It's isness. And that's what I refers to. So there isn't a need. There is no need for you to trouble yourself so much, in your thinking. As much as possible, rest as being. And if it's not possible to rest as being, try to recollect the understanding. Don't try to collect the understanding, just recollect the understanding that comes to you from your contemplation.
Right. Recollect in the sense that it's already here.
Yes.
Not to be gathered, but to be appreciated.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So this now, to move from the relative now of time, now, like all capitals shining or something. That's the contemplation in a way that I've been attempting. Yeah, everything you said makes sense. Makes perfect sense.
The one who is attempting, who is practicing, who is doing the meditation, that one, if you trace that one to its source, you trace it from the form to what is it that knows the form. You trace it from an image to the reality of the image, the knowingness of the image, what knows, what perceives the image. And you keep tracing the one that is recollecting the now. You keep tracing that one to its source. But if you just practice the contemplation of now, the practitioner of this contemplation will have some successes and failures. In time, more successes and less failures. But will remain as some undiscovered, unknown to you. But when you trace it to the source, to its source, then you will come to your self-knowing. So meditate on the meditator, the reality of the meditator, what is beyond the meditator. Keep tracing the meditator to beyond it, to the source.
It's very helpful.
It's not so.
I was saying it's very helpful, that point that none of the images or thoughts know me, know what I am. so that
No.
that just drops out a whole lot of
Yes.
messing around in a way.
All right. Yes. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. No. Anything that is known is not knowing. Knowingness is not in the realm of something that is known. The only knowing that is true knowing is the knowing of the knowing. The knowingness of the knowingness is the knowingness that reveals the knowingness. But the knowing of a known only reveals something, some form, but doesn't reveal the knowingness.
Oh, this is something I was trying to get to the bottom of the whole time with at the Rupert retreat. What does he mean? So this is knowing of knowingness is free from the whole known.
Yes.
So it's abiding in itself. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know that you know. You know that you're aware. You know that you know. You know that you are knowing.
There's no hook there with the whole story and am I adorable enough and all of that sort of stuff.
No.
It's not connected.
You know that you are knowing causelessly, meaning you don't know that you are knowing because you're perceiving the oak tree. You know you are knowing directly. I know that I know. So knowing is independent of the phenomenal realm. It does not depend on its knowingness. Self-knowingness doesn't depend on perception, thoughts, meditations, experiences, recollections, feelings, memories, thoughts. It doesn't depend on that. It's direct. There is a directness to knowingness, which I think in Christian terms they say, or other terms they say, religious term, God is all-knowing, and God is the light. God is a light. It doesn't require anything to be lit, to be the light, to shine. It does not require, like your car requires some fuel to drive. You have to stop by the gas station.
Well, thanks. That was very great.
Okay, Nanda.
Thanks.
Any questions?
Maldi?
Yes.
This is Esther.
Hello, Esther.
What you just said, I just had this strong awareness that it truly is grace that enables the awakening or the recognition or pulls the veil away. It's nothing that this body mind in any way does or makes happen, or it just really, really hit me how it truly is pure grace, and that enables the seeing.
Yes, yes, Esther. Grace and God, universal consciousness. Yes, it is grace, Esther. The body, the mind are experiences that appear to you. The body appears to you as bodily sensations. Thoughts appear to you. Images appear to you. The body appears to you as images as well as perceptions. So it is not the body that is an appearance that's not where the knowingness is. That's not where grace is. So this whole impression of personal doer, meaning like the body mind being the person, the impression that there is such a reality as a personal doer, it is as if you're transferring the reality of consciousness, the reality of knowingness, and giving it to some perception, because the body mind is perceived as a perception. It is as if you go to the theater and you are perceiving a play on the stage, and the actors on the stage are playing the role, whatever the play is. And you assume that the actor in the play knows you. They don't. There are 500 people in the theater watching the play. Whatever appears on the stage is not knowing of the audience. It's a limited metaphor, but just using it anyways. So it is grace, and it's not the body mind. It's via grace, and it is grace that reveals itself to itself, that awakens the mind from its impression that there is a personal knower, that there is a personal doer, and dissolves that impression and illuminates the mind with itself, with grace, which appears as understanding, wisdom, appears as love, the heart level, appears as clarity and transparency. So yes, you are correct in your comment. By the way, I muted you a minute ago to avoid the echo, just so you know, Esther, that if you want to say anything else, you may have to unmute yourself. because there is an echo sometimes when. So yes, that is correct, and it's a lovely understanding to come to, because we can relax this whole download of personal doing, all this effort and all the concerns. We can just surrender to grace, surrendering to grace, or resting as grace, or loving grace, or being open to grace. All of that is very, very beautiful.
I could really feel that as you were speaking, and it also throws away all the wondering about how come I'm awake or I'm awakening and others don't, you know, that kind of thinking.
Yes.
It throws that out too.
Absolutely, because this kind of thinking that I am awake, or I'm awakening, or others are not awakening, or I'm more awake than others, all of that refers to the illusory self. It refers to some sort of character, some sort of entity that is awakening, that we have identified with. And in doing that, we have sort of stepped away from grace, so to speak, and have gone for personal, a recognition of the person's attainment. And in doing that, we are affirming, or we're reinforcing the impression of being this bundle of thoughts and feelings, being the separate me. Unfortunately, what comes with that is the concerns and the worries, because this identification with some sort of form is an identification with something that exists in time, like in our dreams. Everything that appears in our dreams appears and disappears, meaning it's in time. And being identified with something that appears and disappears, meaning being identified with some sort of phenomenal element in time, comes with deep sorrow and concern, because of the impression of mortality, the impression of vulnerability, the impression of incompleteness. So yes, I think that was a very good observation you just made, that when you rest as grace and are open to grace and surrender to grace and are loving in your wholeness and loving grace, you are not contemplating how you are doing, how you are progressing, and how as compared to others, etc. All of that is, in a way, it's absent. And it's not what really speaks to you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Esther. Hello, Isaac. Yes. Isaac, you write, Magdi, your words are a sacred prayer, but your presence with us in Costa Rica has been a means for joy and clarity. Just a commentary. Well, it's interesting to read that, Isaac, because there is the invitation to come to Costa Rica in March, and I turned it down because I was having some doubt about the interest of the Sangha in Costa Rica. So just to hear you say that now, it touches me, so we'll see how it goes. I haven't seen you in a while. It's good to see you. Okay. Say hello to our friends.
So, Magdi, I wanted
Yes.
to talk something in reference to what was being discussed by Esther and also your response. So I understand, but I wanted to share my aspect of it. So I do feel that it is a grace, and the thing I want to ask you is that when we are going about in this world, so I am, I do not think that, oh, that person is not aware. But what I do feel is the pain, or like in the past I've said, like the sadness of the experience, like how you started the thing, when I'm going through that experience. And that is what I feel has helped me in this sangat or satsang that we have had from the first day till, like every Thursday, I think I've attended. So it's good. But if you feel that you need to address anything about the experience of the pain in regard to the awareness, it would be good.
Mm-hmm. The pain that we experience is the pain of separation. To be separated from truth. To be separated from God. To be an isolated, it's a bundle of thoughts and feelings. The pain of identification. The sense of limitation. Even when we get accustomed to it, that's the pain that we experience. It's a shared pain. It's a shared sorrow. It's not a personal. Sorrow, because there is no reality to this person. But it's a sort of journey from the sense of isolation to the light of being. Throughout this journey and beyond, we sense the sorrow. We experience the sorrow of separation until we realize the truth of our experience, that is not in that realm. But even then, from beyond, we feel a certain sense of empathy and compassion. It's not a personal empathy or a personal compassion. For the illusion, we don't ridicule or negate suffering because there is an understanding of how real this impression may be or is. Although it is a mind impression, it still is not to be dishonored, not to be ridiculed or discarded. So there is a compassion in our heart for not being a helper, but there is a natural availability to share and extend a lending hand when it is met, not to apostolize or preach, but to be sensitive. Now, we may experience throughout our contemplation that a certain let's say less and less tolerance for living in ignorance and being in situations where that are not sweet, that are not happy and peaceful and loving. And we may apply our discrimination and navigate our way in more graceful environments and more graceful situations without, and that's quite important, without judgment. Because no one is choosing their suffering, no one is choosing their dreams, no one is choosing ignorance. It is a download that it's still being navigated. So when we are open to grace and available to grace, there is a certain sensibility that comes with it, a certain sensitivity. And there is love. And there is a graceful living. Graceful living does not mean to retreat yourself in some graceful place, but to be living in the midst of whatever is unfolding for you, gracefully. And to be judgmental of yourself or others is not graceful.
So then, to be um, in that state of grace, I feel like what I just put it like what gives me peace, and in other words, just a different way of putting it is when I'm not like when I am loving, when I am compassionate, or whenever I let go, that's what's always given me peace. And even if I look back at my life, that's what gives me peace, and it just like multiplies or whatever like there's so many different ways of saying it, but like how you're saying, so it's good.
Yeah, whatever gives you peace, and also you share the peace that is coming to you by you giving it is very beautiful, because giving is holy. It's giving is very, very graceful, and the self is completely open. It gives everything. Everything is given. The sunlight, the breath, the food that grows in the earth, all the bounty, the oceans, the weather, everything is given. So giving that brings you the peace is very, very beautiful. There are quite a few people along the spiritual path that are takers. They're taking. So they never come to the core. They don't get to the source as a result of that vasana. They are holding on, they're accumulating, they have closed hands. You need to open your hands. Now, the peace that brings you, whatever you do that brings you peace, you recognize the peace because you sense it, you experience it, you feel it in what you do. And your actions, the actions that you do that make you experience the peace, they are like a catalyst. They are not what brings you the peace. They are what point to the peace that is within you. They are in a way means. They're means to point to you the peace that you are. It's an important point for you to understand that the peace is not coming to you from what you are doing, from some actions, very lovely actions of being generous, being helpful, etc. But it's important to understand that the peace that you experience is not coming to you from that. Whatever is revealing the peace, let's say, is just a means for you to notice the peace that you are. So we act out of peace, but we don't act for peace or to get peace or to experience peace. So you have to act from the peace, from the love. Right. And so your actions are an expression, a manifestation, one of the ways in which the peace and the love that you are is manifesting freely. I mean, it has no agenda. There isn't a personal agenda, and there is no person in that. Peace is universal. And it expresses itself through body-minds, through infinite body-minds, in so many different ways. And in this body-mind, it expresses itself in certain particular ways. And we recognize that, and we love that, and we appreciate that, and we say, wow, how amazing the peace that I am is, how generous, how loving, how thoughtful, how compassionate it is. Not I, the person is, but it is, it being the true I, the true self. So, any questions? Okay, well, thank you very much for your lovely company, and we'll see you again next Thursday. Namaste, and be happy, be well. Thank you all.
Namaste.